Welcome back to the Something in the Wilderness podcast, where we select one Andrew McMahon song from his catalog per episode, getting to know each other in the process and sharing a passion for an artist's work that we love. It's been a little while since we've done a song episode, as we've had some bonus episodes in recent Jack's Mannequin shows and some hyping up for that upcoming Holiday from Real cruise, but this week we're going back to basics. I met today's guest officially at the 11:10 and 11:11 events in Detroit this year, but we've had some mutual friends in the fan base for a little while now. Kat creates fan-inspired art, some of which I bought recently, and with that, she also fundraises for the Dear Jack Foundation. Welcome to the show, Kat.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited. Before we get to the song discussion today, I want to hear about your Andrew McMahon journey. So how would you describe yourself to maybe someone who doesn't know you through the Andrew McMahon world, but just in general? Who are you?
Whew, loaded question. Who am I? It's deep. I'm from Toronto. I am a longtime Andrew fan, going back all the way to something corporate, maybe like circa 2000, end of 2002, 2003, maybe just before North came out. And I am a journalist. I'm a TV news writer here in Toronto for the station's called CP24, Toronto's Breaking News. If you've ever been to Toronto and you've been in any coffee shop, any store, and they've got a TV on and it's playing news, that's probably the station I write for.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I do. I'm married. I have a 4-year-old. He is a lot,
4-year-olds
but
are.
we love him. Yep. And hey, you have any other questions about who I am? That'd be great because I feel like that's one of the hardest questions to answer.
It always is. Like that's the one I dislike most during interviews, is because I always like strategizing.
Yeah.
Okay, what do I tell them and what do I leave out? What do I leave for later and things like that. So
Well, that's just it. It's like, well, how much do people really care?
I guess, but I do. I can't speak for everyone. So.
Yeah.
But that was interesting.
Like,
So I just kind of got to know that a little bit. I knew you told me that in Detroit, or because I vaguely remember that now, and that's just,
yeah.
I don't know that I've talked to somebody on here I've talked to people from many different careers, but you might be the first reporter, and you're
Well, not a reporter, news writer.
Sorry,
So
in the news
I'm
industry.
the brains behind the camera.
Okay,
The reporters are
the faces of it.
I wouldn't say the brains, but definitely the faces.
The faces of it.
That's
Okay,
true.
they're the face, and you're the brains behind it that writes the material that they say. Okay.
More often than not, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how I make a buck.
So you found Andrew McMahon in the early 2000s, like 02, 03 SoCo era.
Yeah.
Was there like a specific song or album? I mean, I can guess around that time, but was there something that like hooked you
Yeah.
into the fan base, something that brought you in?
Punk Rock Princess was one of those songs that, it was showing up on like a lot of those sample CDs that were coming out around that time. It was used in a lot of commercials, I think, at the time too. And I feel like there was a skate brand, like a store up in Canada here called West 49. And they used Punk Rock Princess in one of their commercials. And I remember thinking, oh, that song's awesome. And just sort of being like, I don't know it. Who's it by? It wasn't so easy back then to just like find out what, like you hear a song in a commercial now and you can just ask like Siri or Alexa, like, hey, what song is that? Back then it was like, a mission and a half if you really wanted to track down, the source song.
Right.
So, I really liked that. It was great, but, I never really knew who it was or who it was by. And then I remember, so it was my ex-boyfriend who introduced me to something corporate. And so North was really the first album that drew me in. And then I remember, listening to Leaving Through the Window after that and being like, oh, hey, this is that song I really like.
Same band, right?
And having that moment where you're like, oh, I finally found it and it's great and I'm so happy. And then also being like, I knew that there was something about that song that was going to mean something to me later. It was kind of like one of those moments where you're like, okay, this is like a relationship. There's going to be a connection between me and this artist. And from the moment I first heard it, it's like I knew it was going to be something I would stick with. And here I am today, 22 years later, still as in it as ever.
I don't think I felt that way the first time I heard them, or even when I was downloading those MP3s illegally in
Yeah.
the '02 probably time frame after I heard them at Warp Tour. Actually, seeing them at Warp Tour and not far from where exactly I met you in person, because it
Yeah.
was right in Detroit there in '02. And I don't think I felt that way right off the bat. I liked the music, but it was kind of like, oh, there's a bunch of pop punk bands I like right now. Right now,
Yeah.
it's '02. It's like the prime
Yeah.
time for new pop punk that
Exactly.
year. So I kind of lumped them in, but that's interesting that you say that. Now, you are only the second Canadian that I'm aware of that has been on this show.
Okay.
Also, another person probably from the same area as you are. But I only bring that up now because I think a little bit of SoCo trivia that I'm not even certain on. But I think the I Woke Up in a Car video was shot up there somewhere. Like they were on, I thought I remember hearing they were on tour.
I think it was Punk Rock Princess that was filmed here.
Okay.
If you watch the music video,
Hmm.
William Tell is wearing a Toronto t-shirt.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what. Okay, maybe that's what
Mhm.
was in my stuck in my brain.
Yes.
All right.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure that that was the one that was filmed up here. I know that their early relationship, like their early years, there is like some Toronto-based lore, if you will. Like
Okay.
they did play up here a lot in their like early years.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think for one reason, it's a lot cheaper to film stuff up here, which is why we're called Hollywood North.
Okay. I didn't. I didn't know that.
Because so much is filmed in Toronto because of the tax breaks and it's so much cheaper and the US dollar goes so much further here.
Is that why so many Hallmark movies are filmed up by you?
Yeah, actually,
I'm
fun
familiar
story.
with that.
My husband is from Almont, which is the town where most of those Hallmark stories are filmed. Like that's the t small little town where he was born, and so yeah, it's well known. If you've watched a Hallmark movie or two, that's where my husband's from. So
Okay.
yeah,
Well, being that we're recording this on December 23rd, I guess that was just on my mind. But like when you said Hollywood, North Hollywood, and I was like, yeah, there's a lot of those Hallmark Christmas movies that are filmed up
yeah,
there.
yeah. And then like there's been like some major series have been filmed here. Like A Handmaid's Tale is filmed up here, and
Is Schitt's Creek filmed up that way? Or that's
Schitt's
somewhere
Creek.
else?
Yeah, Schitt's Creek was
Yeah, we were
filmed
fans of
like
that.
it's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a really good one. That yeah, that was filmed not too far from Toronto. It's an endless array of movies and TV shows and
Well, let's talk about. So, speaking of art, let's talk about your artwork, Kat. So,
Mhm.
I assume you've been into art for a long time. I don't get the impression this is a newer thing. I've seen your work. Uh,
Yeah.
when did you start shifting from making art in general to making Andrew McMahon inspired art?
So, I mean, I've always been like a bit of an artist. It was more about like doodling and cartoons and like stuff like that. And I enjoyed taking art classes in, high school and university but it was not something I saw as like a career or
Hmm.
something I ever intended to make money off of or become professional at.
Hmm.
And so it was really just like a little hobby pastime. But during COVID, everyone was looking for something new to do. We were all trying to,
Sure.
find a hobby. And I got one of the new iPads and I downloaded the app Procreate,
Uh huh.
which is essentially just, it's like having blank paper and, every type of brush or pen that you can imagine. And I started just drawing on the iPad and really falling back in love with drawing. And I had been through some tough times, and art had become therapy for me.
Okay.
And so doing it was sort of like a way for me to sort of mentally escape.
Mm.
And when, COVID was going on and everything like that, I was listening to a lot of Andrew music, and, he was doing those like living room
Oh
concert
yeah.
sessions or whatever. And so, sometimes I would have that on and I would just be kind of like doodling lyrics or whatever. And so that sort of started to become, oh, I should just make these little designs or whatever that, have the lyrics in them. And then it kind of became, oh, maybe I should be selling these and raising money for Dear Jack. And then it's like, my therapy is leading to giving somebody else some form of therapy.
Hmm.
So I kind of looked at it as like my way of giving back to
Okay.
Andrew and to Dear Jack and everything that I've received from Andrew and his music. It was like, now is my opportunity to kind of pay it forward, use my therapy to help somebody else find that same escape or find that help through, Dear Jack and its programs and everything that they have to offer. So that was where that was born from.
That's a really great reason to
Yeah.
make art. I mean, it's therapeutic for you, but it's also helpful to others.
Yeah.
And I know that when you fundraised this year, you were on a team that raised over $50,000.
51,000 something, something, something. But yeah,
That's
it was,
incredible.
yeah. I mean, and I'm not just saying this to be modest, but we really did not expect
Hmm.
this. We did not go into this with any expectation to win, to, set such a record. Myself and Ariel Smith, we founded the Andrew McMahon Fan Art Collective just over a year ago, really.
Hmm.
And we didn't go public with it till like February of this year. And so for the two of us, like we had only met like online like last November.
Okay.
So we clicked really fast. We became really good friends, and we just both sort of had very similar objectives.
Hmm.
And that was really just to use what we were good at to fundraise and make as much money as possible for Dear Jack. I mean, I think the fact that the two of us were just so like-minded in what we wanted to accomplish and achieve really, helped us kind of get off like running. And we were so lucky to have these incredible other women join our team for the Raise Your Voice challenge. And most of these girls, we did not know each other prior to this Raise Your Voice season. Now they are people that I will talk to for the rest of my life. We have bonded so much. They're like people that I will always send Christmas cards to or something like that. Like
Hmm.
they're on my forever list.
So cool.
Because we just, it was so much more than just fundraising. It was finding your own little community, your own little family of like-minded people who were as motivated as you were. And I think that it was really just the right combination of people, the right combination of motivation and determination. And I never in a million years would have ever expected that our little idea would have ever led to finishing first and Raise Your Voice. And, I remember even having to try and convince Ariel to set like our total like goal at like $2,500 or something like that. And she was
Oh,
like, well,
wow.
I don't know. And I was like, okay, but if we don't do it, that's fine. But like, let's try. And then we hit that really fast, and I was like, maybe we push it to 5,000 and see. And so it really just became a like, how much can we push ourselves? And yeah, and it worked out really well, and we are so proud, and we feel just over the moon with like all the support that we received from for everybody who supported and bought our art, who bid in our auctions, shared our posts, anything. I mean, we're just so grateful that, we were able to put things out there that people liked and loved and wanted, and being able to make, as much as we did for Dear Jack is wonderful, but there is a lot of pride in also knowing that you're putting things out there that people like and want.
Hmm.
And that keeps you motivated too. So, yeah,
Oh,
it's a good feeling.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, I had the opportunity to speak to Christy and Ariel last month, right after the
Hmm.
benefit, and that was really cool to
Yes.
have them on. They didn't know at the time they were winners, but that you guys won the challenge, by the way.
Yes.
But I think it was announced like the day after we recorded or something.
Yes. I was supposed to record that with you, and I
Yeah.
ended up having an emergency appendectomy. My appendix had to come out. And then I had a little bit of some small complications afterward, and so I wasn't able to record with you guys. So this is kind of like you and I like getting our chance to do that. I mean, I'm sad that I didn't get to do that podcast with them because they're amazing and I love them. And it's sometimes hard to believe that I've only known them for a year, really, because
Yeah.
I feel like I've known them forever. Just to be able to have such a shared passion makes the bond so much stronger.
I can echo what you said about that bond that you've found with other people that you fundraise with and done something that's so important with. I feel that way too with my fundraising team, who, just Andrew McMahon fans coming together out of the love of his music and doing something a little bit bigger than that. And I also want to say that I do have a pack of those playing cards that you created. And I meant to have them with me today, but you know what they look like, so I don't think I need to show
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, those playing cards. That was something that Ariel was like really pushing me. She was like, "You should really do playing cards. Like I think your style would really like
Mhm.
play well with playing cards." And I was like, "Oh, that feels like a really big undertaking." And it was a
Oh
very
yeah.
big undertaking. But I'm really happy with how they turned out, and I know Andrew's seen them and he's told me like he thinks they're super cool and he likes
Hmm.
them. And so I'm gonna try to find a way to get him a deck sometime soon. That was a lot of work, but it was a fun project. So
I bet it was a lot of work because a lot of the cards have different art. So it's essentially
mhm.
a bunch of pieces of different artwork by you, Andrew
Yeah,
McMahon inspired,
yeah,
in one single deck. So
yeah.
it was just so cool to play with that deck and be able to see that and enjoy the art at the same time. So
Thank you. Yeah, no, that was a lot of. I'm glad Ariel pushed me to do that because I don't think I would have done it if she hadn't really been like, "This is something I think you would really excel at." So
yeah, and for those
thank
of
you,
you,
Ariel.
yeah, and for those listening that haven't seen that, I will post a picture, maybe even a short reel showing those cards. If that's is that okay if I share that?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. There's no plan right now to do a reprint. However, maybe next year for Raise Your Voice, maybe I'll consider doing a reprint if there is demand or
Hmm.
anything. So if you like these cards and you're interested in buying a deck, shoot me a message and I'll make a note. And if we do decide to do a reprint of them, then I'll be sure to let you know.
That would be awesome.
Mhm.
So aside from all that work that you've been doing and making new friends in the fan base and what a year you've had, when you weren't able to be on the show recently, I think actually we talked about this in Detroit. You said, yeah, I'll do a song, and I sent you a list, and I think maybe you had mentioned one. I could be wrong on this. I think you mentioned one that maybe someone had already done, but I could have that wrong.
Me and the Moon, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right. Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
That's my song. That's
Oh,
my tattoo
nice.
here is reasons like seasons, and then I've got the butterfly and the moon, and then a flower representing spring, summer, and then a leaf and a snowflake for fall and winter there. So
Oh, very pretty.
yeah, that song was one of the first songs I remember off of North, just like getting chills when I listened to it. Still to this day, I can listen to it and I can instantly feel like I'm back in my senior year of high school, driving, with the windows down at night or something like that. And that song's just like blasting off the stereo. And it's just this like incredible time machine song for me. And anytime I hear it live, it's just, again, it's chills. And hearing it at Red Rocks was a cathartic experience that I didn't know I needed.
How
um,
perfect. Under
yeah,
the
so
moon.
yeah, that was a really special moment. But that is not the song we are talking about today.
That is nuts. So I talked about that song on my own before back when in the day years ago. So I've been doing this over 5 years, and that was one of the first episodes I believe that I did. But it was a solo episode because I hadn't yet started reaching out to a lot of people as potential guests. So
Well, if you ever want to revisit it, you know where to find me.
the revisit era of the podcast. Yes, we're on song I think 98 today.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, when I did send you a list, Kat, I
Mhm.
think you were pretty quick to respond. You were like, this is the
Yep.
song. And I was like, wow, that was like really quick. So I'm glad that you're able to find another song that felt special to you. The song we're,
Yes.
we're going to talk about today, it was written during the Everything in Transit era, but it didn't make it on any of the official albums.
Hmm.
It was definitely in my iTunes music collection because I remember collecting all the Glass Passenger tracks that way, all the surrounding EPs at the time,
Hmm.
and I assume they're still there. So iTunes still has them saved for me, or Apple Music, whatever it's called now.
Yep. Yep.
But there were several EPs around this time, and we'll kind of touch on some of them. But Kat chose to talk about the song Cell Phone, which I gotta say, I have more thoughts on than I expected when you mentioned it. So I'm excited to discuss this with you.
It is a song that when I would have first heard it, I mean, it was just another song. I think it really only kind of started speaking to me in the last decade.
Oh, okay. That's kind of surprising. I did not expect that.
Yeah, and maybe even more so just in the last 5 years. I think probably most fans feel that certain songs, that maybe you didn't feel connected to 10, 15 years ago, maybe you've had changes or experiences in your life since then that have
Hmm.
made these songs become more relevant to you. And this is one of those songs for me where I previously maybe just didn't have an experience or a story or a situation where I felt like the lyrics could speak to me. And then I've been through some stuff, and this one, listening to it, in the last 5 years or so, I can recall having like a very visceral, like, oh, why is this resonating so much? Why do I
Hmm.
feel like like emotions like climbing up through me? Like this song didn't really have that effect on me before. Why now? So that's kind of my relationship with the song
Okay.
right now, and that song was a big deal for me this year. My goal was to get him to play it, and so that I could see it live because it's not a it was never a regular rotation song. I don't think I ever heard it live prior to this year.
I didn't until this year.
Yeah, so I mean to finally get to hear it and to hear it when it meant something more, that was really special to me. So,
Well, I definitely want to talk to you about all of that and dig in even
yeah.
more. The band we're talking about is obviously Jack's Mannequin this time around.
Mhm.
The song was track 2 of 4 originally on the In Valleys EP, which was released on September 8th, 2008. Oddly, an EP 22 days before the album, The Glass Passenger.
Mhm.
So I thought that was, looking back in time, and I don't know if it seemed weird at the time to me, but it does now to have like drop an EP with songs that aren't even going to be on the album before the
Mhm.
album comes out.
Yeah, usually you would see or expect that to come after the album drops. Be
Yeah,
like, "Hey, here are the things that didn't make the cut."
right. Like, so Oasis was like a big one for me in high school. I was really big into
Mhm.
Oasis. I still like Oasis. They had all these like UK singles,
Yep.
and they would have, the single that was on the radio or whatever that was popular. And then they'd have like 2 or 3 other bonus tracks with it.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what this felt like, but it didn't really, it wasn't called the name of the song it was released. I think Swim was
Yes.
on there maybe. Was it Swim that was I'm
I
losing
think it was Sleazy Wednesday, Cell Phone
At Full Speed maybe.
at Full Speed. Yeah.
But I can't remember what the lead track was. It was either Swim or The Resolution. But it wasn't called the Swim. Let's say it was Swim
No,
for the.
yeah.
It wasn't the Swim single. It was the In Valleys EP. That's what kind of throws
Yeah.
me a little bit.
Lay in Valleys. That's from what's it called? Oh God.
Yeah, it's a lyric, right?
Where the sky. Is
And I
that
could
from
I could not tell you.
That is what we need till we climb. It's just so high, and I'm trying to sing through
Oh,
the lyrics.
Bloodshot.
Bloodshot.
Bloodshot. Wow, you got me there. That was good. I did. Yeah, didn't see that one coming. Yeah.
That is one of my biggest like pet peeves is that like I could sing you an entire song, but the title of it will always elude me
Uh huh.
until I can like sing my way to the chorus and it's like, "Oh, yes. Okay, okay. That's the one I was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Till you
Okay.
get to the
Yeah.
words in the song that is the title. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Been there. I'm not great with lyrics, so yeah, I probably would not have gotten that. If we were playing Andrew McMahon themed trivia right now.
Oh, you're right. It was Swim. Swim was the lead track off of In Valleys.
Yeah, so that would make sense to have like the Swim single, right? This is the
Yeah.
single coming out. Here's a couple of bonus tracks. Again, that's how a
Yeah.
lot of artists did it many, many years ago. A
Yeah.
lot of a lot of artists that have inspired Andrew, I know in general. But yeah, that wasn't the case. It was the In Valleys EP. So just I guess the
Mhm.
title is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Considering Bloodshot was not a song on this EP.
No.
It kind of like the Ghost Overground EP was another one, and similarly,
Yes.
that's a lyric in a different song, which I can't recall that one either.
Uh, on parade. Maybe if your voice comes back again, there's no one listening. Is that? Crashing.
Crashing. Wow, you're
Again,
good.
had to sing my way to get to the chorus.
Yeah, you're much better at me than me with lyrics by far. So sometimes I'm the guy in concert who wants to be singing along, and I'm like, I don't know all the lyrics, so I'll
Yeah.
just kind of mumble the words. So
No, the lyrics live rent free in my head. The song titles do not.
gotcha. I guess I'm better at the song titles. I will say
There
that,
you,
but those are
there
the
you go.
easy ones for me. So this song, again, the EP was exclusive to iTunes at that time, but the song also appears, so you can find it as track 17 now on the Glass Passenger Deluxe on Spotify, where they combine the songs from many of the EPs with that album. It's also a part of the Let Go demos, which we're going to talk about, which I haven't really, I was telling you before we recorded, I haven't really talked about that collection
Hmm.
before much at all, if at all, on the show. I don't remember if I've mentioned it or not, but it's a collection of pre Everything in Transit demos, and this appears on there.
But and it's funny because we also talked about this before. The version of the Let Go demos that I have does not have cell phone on it. It only goes up to I think the track is actually just called Untitled.
Yep, Untitled. Yeah.
So I know that I'd heard this version of cell phone before, like the original version, if you will, before, but it's definitely not one that I had in a regular rotation, whereas the other Let Go songs I do have and I have listened to more regularly. But yeah, this is the one that really I'm just most familiar with, the In Valleys version.
I definitely am too. In fact, it's possible I've only listened to that cell phone demo once before I was getting ready
Hmm.
for this episode, because when I read somewhere that the lyrics had changed, which we're going to talk about,
Hmm.
between the demo and the album recording, or the studio recording, I'll call it,
Hmm.
I didn't realize how different it was. And
So different, my goodness.
yeah, and it is interesting that you point that out, that because I had that collection of Let Go demos a few years ago, someone shared with me, and I'm like, this is awesome. It's like a whole nother Andrew McMahon album that most
Hmm.
people didn't have, most people didn't know about it, so I never really brought it up. But a different fan put it on YouTube like a year ago, and so it kind of blew wide open in the fan base, at least like in the Discord and Facebook groups and things
Yep.
like that. So if you're involved in it, if you're in any of that, you might have seen it. So now you can find them on YouTube technically, but my impression of the Let Go demos was, well, if Andrew wanted people to hear it, he would have put them up there somewhere. So I kind of
Yeah,
saw that as
exactly.
like I'm going to keep these on my computer sort of thing
Exactly.
up until that point. But I guess now more people get to hear them. Yeah. So when I had the Let Go demo initially, it did not have the few tracks at the end, which, like last year, I think maybe it was around that time. Yes, it was. It was when somebody was putting on YouTube. They're like, "Oh, here's all the tracks," and it was like, "Wait, cell phones on there too."
And you're like, news to me.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I have to say that I think knowing that it was on Let Go and knowing the old lyrics and comparing it to the version from In Valleys and the new lyrics, it paints the song in a different light, I think, in some ways, because the version that you hear on the Let Go demos is very much more about what he was going through, I think, at the time, in regards to, like, the breakup,
Hmm.
the dissolving of something corporate, and the transition to Jack's Mannequin, and maybe sort of what he was feeling in terms of like where he was in that the world of music at that time. And then you have the In Valleys version, which is more, it's very much about his cancer journey.
Definitely changes themes.
And it's funny because melodically and musically, it's the song is very similar, but in listening to the lyrics, and it's two different songs, and they both speak to such different things, but
Hmm.
I think it definitely lends itself better to telling his cancer story and being on, I think it is a glass passenger in valleys. Like, it is that is where it belongs.
Right. Yeah, it could have been technically, with when the writing first took place, it could have been on Everything in Transit. I
Hmm.
do understand why it didn't make it on Everything in Transit. It doesn't feel
Hmm.
like a Transit era track. Easy to say in
No.
hindsight, right? Like, I'm sure if it was on Everything in Transit, it would feel like one.
It's like, even reading the lyrics and thinking about other songs from Everything in Transit, like, it just doesn't hold up to them. It
Hmm.
doesn't, it just doesn't feel like the stories from every other song on Everything in Transit, the lyrics, that is. I feel, they're And I have always felt that, they're telling this story, they're very raw, it's poetic.
Hmm.
Cell phone from the demo version, it just doesn't do it for me. Like
No?
lyrically, it's kind of like it's a little more abrupt, it's a little more boastful. It doesn't have that same sort of soul to it, I think.
Okay.
To me, it's more like, especially if you look at some of the lyrics where it's like, in the Let Go version, what is it? He has the lyric is like I'm confident or I'm super self-assured in public. But the Valley's version is about
Overwhelmed.
being overwhelmed in public and being like uncomfortable with being seen in the spotlight and
Hmm.
being recognized, or I guess maybe even being seen when he was ill and sick and not looking healthy. And you can hear, I don't know, it has more soul. There's more pain in Valley's version.
Hmm.
And I think that's really what kind of elevated the song, because the idea of being alone, the idea of being unable to get home, when you're going through like an illness or you're experiencing something that is that life altering, I think it speaks a lot more and therefore makes it sort of more, I don't know if it's deeper and it connects better.
It's interesting. This may be contradictory to what you're saying, though.
Hmm.
He has stated that he didn't want to put it, so it wasn't on Transit. It
Hmm.
also wasn't on the Glass Passenger, but it ended up again being released on an EP before that. But
Hmm.
he has stated that he didn't want to put it on the Glass Passenger. And again, this is probably the new version that you're talking about
Hmm.
because he didn't want another sad song on the
Hmm.
Glass Passenger. Because I guess it does have more emotional weight, and it is a
It's
little.
a
It
heavy
is.
it's a heavy song. I think how sad and heavy this song is underrated.
And I think that's why according to him, that's why it didn't make the album because there were already so many songs about the weight of the cancer journey and the recovery
Absolutely.
and things like that.
Absolutely.
So he didn't want to like overwhelm the senses, overwhelm the fans with all of that, and he felt like it would just be adding to the pile. I don't know if there was a song that was subbed in instead of Cell
Hmm.
Phone, or if it was ever on the track list at all. I don't know that, but it's
Yeah.
just interesting to think because he's also stated that he loves the song.
Hmm.
At one time, he said it was one of his best songs among those two albums collectively, which I found surprising. And I don't know, I don't have the source for that, so I don't know whether I heard that in the live stream where he played it, or in a concert, or I read it somewhere. But I did note that at some point in the
Hmm.
song.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I think that he loves it, but I think at the end of the day, he felt that, he loved it so much he wanted to put it out there. It just didn't maybe belong on Glass Passenger,
Hmm.
like you said, because he didn't want maybe another sad song there, but really felt like he needed to put it out into the world because it is very, I think of it as like hauntingly beautiful in that, you can really hear sort of the pain of what he went through and the loneliness that one might feel when they're dealing with what he was dealing with. And
I am curious. So, and this is based on something you said earlier, Kat. Knowing the context of this song nowadays, at least the In Valley's newer version, right, or the
Mhm.
studio version, whatever you want to call it, and the things that we've all heard Andrew talk about from this time of his life, the Glass Passenger era, slash his cancer journey. Does it change how you hear this song compared to maybe when you first discovered it? Then does it like hearing those stories and knowing, being familiar with the story and having the history? Does that make does this give it more weight?
I would say like when I first heard it, I knew, a lot of what had gone on and what the story was, and it was a deep song and I could appreciate it, for what it was and that it was him telling his story. I think it wasn't until I better understood from a personal point of view
Hmm.
what he was singing about that it really, really started to resonate with me. Specifically, I find the line, there's a fighter somewhere underneath this skin and bones.
Hmm.
That lyric to me is where I have always sort of felt like I feel like you're hearing him say like, I'm sick, I'm unwell, but I'm gonna fight. and this is, me saying I'm going to stand up to this, and I'm going to get through it. And it, to me, was a very similar sort of thought that I had when I was going through something very difficult, was the idea that, like, I'm a fighter. I'm going to fight that. I'm going to get through this, and I can do it. And that lyric, to me, when I have moments where, like, I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling down, or, it's just a bad day, that, like, lyric of "there's a fighter somewhere underneath the skin and bones,"
Mm-hmm.
it just always kind of reminds me that difficult things can be overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel sort of like that is the lyric from this song that has always sort of stuck out to me.
I can definitely relate to what you're saying with, having certain experiences. I found, see, because looking back, the reason I wanted to ask that question is, looking back, I don't think I understood the weight of the song, the weight of the lyrics back then. I appreciated it as a song and I enjoyed
Hmm.
it and all
Hmm.
that. But I think as I get older, maybe I appreciate some of these words and some of these songs in general even more, or in a different way than
Hmm.
I possibly could understand when I was
Hmm.
in my mid 20s,
Yeah.
and or however old I was when this came out. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to me how it can change meaning over time based upon your own life experiences, and I can relate to at least that
Absolutely.
part.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think too, like, the more experiences, you have in life as we get older or whatever, being able to listen to something like this where, you think about what it is to go through a difficult experience, or to be away from home, or to feel alone, or to be trying to overcome something. 20-year-old me didn't know what adversity was, you know?
Hmm.
But, now it's kind of like, oh, okay, I have been through stuff,
Hmm.
and now I hear these lyrics and I understand what it means to feel like you've fought your way through something.
To have to
And
fight, yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, there is this, like, I don't know, there's this, it's just this pull,
Hmm.
I think, that, I really can relate this song and its lyrics to my own challenges.
Hmm.
The whole idea of, like, so I know I'm not alone in a world full of vampires. I mean, the idea that now, especially in this time, in this age where we can call up, we can text, we can message anybody at any point in time to be
Hmm.
able to not feel alone, wasn't so much a thing when this song would have originally come out, right?
No.
Like, social media was still in its, like, infancy years. And
Oh, for
did
sure.
the iPhone didn't come out till what, like 2007?
I think
I
you're right.
think.
I was going to say the same exact year. I think you're right.
Yeah, so, it's like we didn't have the connectivity that we have today. So maybe back then the idea of being able to use a cell phone to feel connected to people, it was a much more sort of special thing. Whereas now, maybe we don't so much think about the cell phone in the same way, but the ability to reach people, to not feel so alone, is not such a, I don't know, it's a very different experience now than I think it was, back in 2008 when we were talking about connectivity then.
It definitely is the dichotomy between the connection of a cell phone. It for me is that it does connect us in a way like what you said. You can now text or technically call anyone
Hmm.
anytime. And since
Hmm.
we all have our cell phones on us, which it wasn't like that back then, because in the era we grew up in, there was
Hmm.
a thing such as not is being away from your phone. But
Hmm.
nowadays, that's not really a thing. Like, you're not away from your phone. You just always have it nearby, or unless
Yeah.
it's charging, or like you've left it somewhere unintentionally.
Yeah.
But there's also this dichotomy because it's also kind of disconnecting in that, to me anyway, this is my opinion, that, even though you can reach out to somebody, it's just also like that's the way people communicate now. So it's not as much of the human interaction as it
Yeah.
is, it's through the cell phone.
Yeah.
But they, especially a younger generation would argue my point in that it's the only way to connect. Like, if I don't have a
Hmm.
cell phone, for the younger generation, if I don't have a cell phone, I can't connect with people. And
Yeah.
so that takes away my connection to all other people. So
Hmm.
it's like kind of an interesting perspective. I'm reading a book called The 90s right now. And I love it, by the way. I can't think of the author at the top of my head, but I'm sure other people have heard of it. But And he talks about that difference in generations, in that the people who had landlines versus the people who never had that, and the perception of cell phones because of it. And I see that, and I'm definitely on the, the older end of that spectrum, of
Hmm.
course. Like, I had the landline all growing up through the 80s and
Hmm.
90s. So it's yeah, it's just a difference in perspective that it helped me understand what it's going to be like for my kids, and even people who are like just 10, 12, 15 years younger than me, like,
Yeah.
feel different about it than I do even.
Oh, absolutely. Like I actually, it's funny. I was talking about this with my husband just the other day because, we were talking about how my 4-year-old knows how to make a phone call and use a tablet. Like
Hmm.
he's been doing it since like he came out of the womb kind of thing, right? And it's
Yeah.
just to him, it is second nature. Whereas I didn't have a cell phone until I was in, like my sophomore year. And at that point, it was only for phone calls.
Hmm.
Like a
Same.
text message was like, $2 or something
Yeah.
ridiculous like that. And if you texted, your parents would kill you. In high school, we still called people. We still called on landlines, and we had ICQ or MSN or AOL. And that was kind of like our thing. But my brother is 7 years younger than me.
Hmm.
And for him, in high school, they had cell phones and they had started texting. Texts were still pricier, but it was sort of what the kids were doing at the time. Was texting was starting to become the thing, and they weren't on MSN or AIM or anything like that. And it's kind of, I often say like, elder millennials were sort of lucky in that we really did we straddle that line
Hmm.
between the old and the new.
Yep.
And
And this author talks about that too, that like middle generation right there.
absolutely. And it allows us to kind of have insight into the past and an understanding of the present and the future, and how that technology has kind of, changed the world that we live in, and we can see the positives and the negatives maybe more clearly than Gen X, Gen Z, I should say, actually, and because they just that's all they know.
Andrews talked about this feeling he was having during the sessions, the glass passenger sessions of, kind of exactly what you were talking about earlier, with the cell phone being the connection to his outside world. And
Mhm.
so he would go, I think, to his hotel after the studio, but that was like his lifeline to other
Mhm.
people. And it probably
Absolutely.
was texting. So by that point, so like by '07
Yeah.
into '08, right, we would have been texting. I think that's about when I started texting, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. But he was at Sound City Studios where Dark Blue was recorded and most of Glass Passenger. And he told this story about staying at, yeah, in my notes, I have the Holiday Inn down the road. That's what it was, from the studio. And
Yeah.
he felt like his cell phone was so important in staying connected. But also, and these lyrics are reflected in, again, the studio version, the In Valley's
Yeah.
version, feeling sick from the transplant. And you mentioned the vampires earlier.
Hmm.
The vampires in the song may reference like the nurses that were taking his blood.
Yep. And see, I've kind of looked at that lyric. Well, just even today before we started talking, I was
Hmm.
listening to both versions of the song, and definitely the In Valley's version. The vampires really do give off the impression that he's talking about, yes, the nurses, the people who took his blood. But if you listen to the Let Go Demos version,
Uh huh.
he doesn't talk about vampires, does he? No.
No,
The
no. He says,
vampires aren't.
in a world full of vampires, that replaced the "and I let go again" line.
Yeah. Yeah, which is oddly what I think probably the demos were named for.
Oh, I didn't even notice that until you said that. Wow,
Yeah,
let
yeah.
go. There you go. The
Which
let go.
I think we would be remiss not to talk about the irony that Andrew has gone back to his T9 texting phone habits, I guess, if you will. Like he's
That's right.
done away with the iPhone and he's back using his well, I think he actually said that it's basically a razor phone.
Yeah, he said that on Camp Wilderness that he's back on the more primitive phone. He doesn't want to do a
Hmm.
smartphone right
The
now.
dumb phone, I think he calls it. The
Yeah,
dumb
just
phone.
just to
Yeah.
try it out and kind of get away from the screen a little bit,
Yep.
which I get because, and this is something that my wife and I have talked about, something that bothers me about myself even. So I'm not even just putting this on others. I see it,
Hmm.
but I also acknowledge that it's my own problem. And you as an artist, I don't know what kind of feedback you'd have on this, but like getting inspired, a lot of that was looking around at things, looking around at the world. And I fear we're looking around at the world less. And I
Hmm.
have the impression something Andrew said kind of confirmed that, that thought for me is like, because he was saying he
Hmm.
wants to be inspired, he wants to kind of lessen the distractions. And I'm like, yeah, if I'm sitting in a car and I'm the passenger, and if I'm looking at my phone, I'm not really seeing the world around me. And
Yeah.
that bugs me a little bit. So,
Yeah. So for me, my phone, I'm actually quite good at walking away from my phone,
mhm.
and I don't get notifications on my tablet. I specifically have that turned off. So if I'm doing art, if I'm, involved in some kind of project creatively, I'm not being interrupted
Mhm.
by, email notifications, text messages, what have you. But I think also too, being able to easily separate myself from my phone comes from my entire job is about being online, is about, reading stories and being exposed to a lot of material that's, quite depressing and upsetting on a regular basis.
Sure.
And in this day and age, the only way to really get away from that is to unplug and is
Mhm.
to step out of it. So that's kind of become, for me at least, a little bit easier to do because, it's like for my mental well-being, I have to actually unplug and walk away, or else my job is, in my hands anytime I see something that comes across Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, or any news story that breaks, like, everything is right there in front of you. And if you want to really unplug and really just unwind, putting my phone away is the number one way for me to do that. So,
Agreed.
but it is an interesting when you think about that, he wrote this song about the cell phone being a lifeline and being so important to his feeling like, connected.
Mhm.
And now we're in an age where he's talking about how important it is for him to disconnect a little
Disconnect.
bit and not be so involved in everything that's going on online. And it's such an interesting sort of
The irony.
full circle moment, if you
Yeah,
will.
it sure is. Before we get too much into songwriting and lyrics, we've already touched a lot on it, and that's
Hmm.
awesome.
Hmm.
I do want to talk about live history a little bit
Hmm.
because I know you saw the song live this year. I saw the song live this year,
Hmm.
and I want to talk about those experiences. So, according to Setlist FM, so I'm not sure if you're aware of this. I don't think this is an alarming statistic, but the song's been played a total live times 11 times in concert by
Yeah.
Jack's Mannequin, about half of which were in the year 2025, the year we're in.
Yeah.
The other half were essentially in 2008. But the very first time, almost the other half, the very first time, did you know this was played at Lollapalooza in August of 2007? So a
No.
full year before it came out.
Before it even came out.
Yeah,
No.
someone has a video that I'm going to share in the links of him playing this in 2007 in Chicago at Lollapalooza. Before
Now,
this
is it
song,
the In Valleys version?
that's a very good question. I didn't even think to pay attention to the lyrics. Yeah,
Well, see, that's interesting.
I'll have to go back and listen to the lyrics because I didn't even think about. Good point.
One wonders if he played, the Let Go version and then, was like, hey, you know what? I remember really liking this song and I'm gonna play around with it because I think musically there's still something here. And, that maybe that performance is what brought us to it existing in Valleys. Who knows, right?
I spend time on Setlist FM and I look this stuff up. That's why I have some of these statistics. And I got to say, there were no songs listed for his set in 2007 at Lollapalooza, but there are two videos on YouTube that say this is Jack's Mannequin at Lollapalooza 2007, and he's playing cell phone. So I added it myself, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
I added that to set list because I like those things to be factually accurate. But
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
only song in his set list for 2007 Lollapalooza, so
It's the only song he played.
it's the only song I could confirm that he played. Right. But yeah, so it's a rare song, but not surprising.
Mhm.
Can you believe though that so he's never played it as the Wilderness? So all this time in between,
Yeah.
2008, 2025, even into the end of the Jack's Mannequin era, he
Yeah.
didn't play it.
Yeah.
Does that rarity of this song live make it more special to you, or is it just frustrating?
No, I think it makes it more special. And I think a lot of that, especially when, we listen to how he talks about the Jack's Mannequin era and sort of what it was for him and how difficult it is for him to revisit some of those songs and some of those stories because, that was such a difficult time in his life. And, with a song this raw, a song that's this sort of, it has to be one of those songs that for him, was maybe hard to play or hard to
Mm-hmm.
perform.
That's a good point.
And I think now, when we look at the tour, the 2025 tour, where, we were kind of opening that Pandora's box in a sense and playing, those songs that maybe he, kind of hoped that were in his past. And he's talked about how difficult it was kind of revisiting a lot of these songs, right? And, he said it was tricky. And I actually remember I saw Jack's Mannequin in New York City back in June.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the first week of the tour, I think it was.
It was.
Yeah, and he said something along the lines of, how difficult it was to revisit some of these songs and how grateful he was to Kelly for being supportive and kind of being on board with this idea because I mean, it's her story too, to go through a lot of those Everything in Transit songs and probably opens up a lot of wounds for the two of them as well. And
Sure.
he explicitly said that he was so grateful that she was this amazing woman who, their relationship was so strong that he could go back to this era and play these songs again and have it be not something that was going to create any problems, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like it makes sense then. I think that Cell Phone wasn't really ever played live until well, more so this year that, he was opening that wound and might as well play these things. When else are you going to necessarily have the opportunity to revisit some of these songs?
Yeah, I remember him playing, and I remember this solely because my friend Kate wanted him to play Cell Phone in the cruise last year, which he did not technically
Hmm.
play the song, but he did play like kind of like a sample of it, kind of like a noodle of it in his Q&A. So he was like, there was a point in the Q&A on the cruise last year where he was answering questions from the interviewer, and then he would like play parts of a part of a song or something. And he started Cell Phone, and people got really excited, but he just played. He might have played a verse of it. I'll have to go back. I'm sure somebody has a video of that. And then just touching back to your earlier point, also that I do remember him saying that basically he had to like talk about reopening the Jack's Mannequin box with his
Hmm.
therapist, basically. And I'm
Hmm.
paraphrasing and putting
No,
different words to it, but it was a journey to go back to that era and reopen this box, so to speak.
well, yeah, I mean, for anybody who's been to therapy, and I do therapy myself, sometimes there are these topics, these things that you work your way through and you get to the other side of it and you're happier on the other side of it and you don't want to have to go back and revisit some of those memories. And so
Hmm.
I think especially he's worked so hard to kind of get past a lot of the obstacles he faced during the Jack's Mannequin, era. And I think, having to go back and kind of relive a difficult time, it's painful. And
Hmm.
it can kind of, maybe trigger some habits or feelings or things that, he's worked really hard to kind of put aside. And
It's a good point. That's a really good point. Those
yeah,
maybe unhealthy coping mechanisms he used at the time to get through
exactly.
that time that he doesn't want to return to.
Exactly. Like we work really hard sometimes to put things behind us. And, we're lucky that we don't have our lives kind of out there for everyone to witness or talk
Hmm.
about, and analyze. But being a musician and having to revisit for the fans and, revisit that era that was so big, but also so ruinous for him.
Yeah.
God, there are years I don't want to revisit of my own life, and so the weight of that, and
Yeah. But then he did play the song like we talked about though, and one of
he
the
did,
at
yeah.
least one of the times was in Toronto, or was
It
it two?
was
Was it two times he played it in Toronto?
two times he played it in Toronto. He
Tell
played
me
it
about
in
that.
sound check, and he played it at the show. So,
Was that a coincidence that he played it both times? In Yeah, we're talking about sound check and the
yeah,
live
yeah,
show,
yeah.
of course.
So hearing this song live was my personal mission this year.
Mm-hmm.
I made it my like I'm gonna find a way to hear this song, and I don't have a direct line to Andrew. I'm not like, sending him messages and being like, play this, play this, play this.
Hmm.
But I did have my friend Christy, who was going to the Atlanta show several days before,
Hmm.
and she was doing VIP. And I said to her, we were in the middle of the Raise Your Voice challenge at the time, and I said, if you tell Andrew during the VIP that I will make a $100 Dear Jack donation if he will play Cell Phone at the Toronto show. And, that'll be like my how can you say no kind of thing, right? And I mean,
Hmm.
but I was like, I will make that donation to hear this song. And for the record, I did make that donation
Okay.
because, yes, he did end up playing Cell Phone in Toronto. So during the sound check, he was like, okay, there was one of you here who really wanted to hear Cell Phone in Toronto. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's me. And
Oh,
he's
he
like,
brought it up in soundcheck?
yeah. And he
Oh,
was like,
wow.
he's like, that's you? Well, consider this Cell Phone in Toronto. And so then he played it in soundcheck. And I thought that was going to be it. And like,
Hmm.
I thought this was his way of saying, like, okay, I'm playing it, make your donation. We're good. Don't expect it during the show. But then he did play it during the show, and he spoke about it a little bit in the lead up. And he said, he's like, I go around all the time, and people are always like, can you play this song? Can you play that song? And he's like, I usually respond with like, well, I don't know if anybody knows that song. And he's like, people are usually like, get play it anyway, like
Yeah.
who cares? And he's, so he said, I'm gonna call this the who fucking cares moment of the night because I really love this song. It's about, my Razor phone, and he's like, yeah, I love this song, and he played it. And at one point, I mean, I was fortunate to be on the barricade that night, and at one point he kind of like looked at me when he was playing as if to say like, okay, are you happy now? Like, here's your
You got it
song.
twice.
Yeah, and I was just kind of, like, oh, that's great. And that was really awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, did he play it in Detroit too, or was I
He
just
he did, which
Yeah.
I had to go back and look at the set list, and not only that, but I bought that bootleg recording so I can
Yeah,
listen to
yeah.
it as well. And I had to remind myself because honestly, there are a lot of songs that I remembered that night. I did not remember that one, which is interesting because it's the only time I've ever heard it live. So you'd think that one would have stuck out in my memory.
I actually I have a copy of the set list. I got J-Mac's set list that night.
Okay.
And yeah, I have it on my wall, and I for some reason I think that whole night was like such a blur. There was so much going on.
Yeah.
And also too, like the night before we had our acoustic Everything in Transit,
Right.
so it's like it's just and 2 nights before that was the Toronto show. So that like week for me just kind of is all like one overwhelming experience. And so it's sometimes I'm just like, did that happen in Detroit, or am I thinking about when it happened in Toronto, or was that what happened during the Everything in Transit session during the Dear Jack benefit? And so it's like, yeah, it's a blur.
I have the same issue because I saw him in Columbus. I saw Jackson Columbus the previous Wednesday, the
Mm-hmm.
11:10 show that you were at on that Monday, and then 11:11 was on Tuesday. So
Hmm.
three times within a week, I saw a Jack's Mannequin show,
Hmm.
one being the piano only show, and
Hmm.
so I was conflating Columbus and 11:11
Yeah.
together, and I was like, which one? And then I was like, oh, he actually played Cell Phone. When I was researching this episode, I was like, he actually played it when Kat and I were at the same show.
Yes,
So you saw it three times last or this year.
I did. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with how that all turned out.
Yeah, definitely things went in your favor.
Yeah, and shout out to Christy for helping make that happen, and Connor too. Thank you, Connor, for making that happen because that made me really really happy. That was like the icing on the cake for me this year was to be able to hear that song live, and
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I
yeah.
think I think we all have our bucket list Andrew lists in our mind, and
Hmm.
honestly, that wasn't one on my radar, but I'm kind of glad I got to see it, and I'm glad. Again, I don't really remember it to be perfectly honest, but I can listen back to it and I can be like, oh yeah, that did sound really good.
Yeah.
So, and the only other thing I wanted to mention is he did play it on a live stream back in 2020 and in one of those living room live streams that you mentioned
Hmm.
earlier
Hmm.
today, and
And you know what? Maybe I saw that one. Maybe I
mhm.
didn't. I don't think it hit me. It didn't resonate at the time.
And it's a little different than hearing it live, right? Like it's
Yeah. Oh,
I don't count that as
very.
seeing it
Yeah.
live, right?
No, I agree. Yeah, it's a different beast to hear it when you're there in the room.
Yeah, but it is cool that he played it on the 2020 live stream. He
Hmm.
played it on Camp Wilderness in June 2021.
Hmm.
So some of those in Camp Wilderness you can actually go back and re-listen to, and some of them you can't. I don't know how they've decided which ones to put for reviewing in there and which ones they don't, but I wish they were all there, but at least some of them are.
But I am interested in seeing, I am going on the cruise this time.
Hmm.
The schedule just dropped, what was it, last week, week before?
Yeah, last Thursday. Oh my gosh, that
Yeah,
was a
and
big
on
day.
that last night, it just says Andrew McMahon like dot dot dot. And I'm really curious to see like what that turns into because I know there's been a lot of talk, and I think he's even said it once or twice that like he thinks he's just gonna play like a whole set of B-sides.
Yeah, he has said that in Camp Wilderness.
Yeah,
He mentioned
so
that.
I'm kind of like, oh man, this is gonna be really interesting. Like, am I finally gonna get to hear all these songs that I've never heard, live, or
Yeah.
who knows what he's working on? But
I'm glad you mentioned that, what the schedule says, because I saw that schedule, and last year on the cruise, it said Andrew McMahon and Friends from the beginning.
Mhm,
And so we knew we could assume that meant he was going to have guests up there, and he did. And it
mhm.
was amazing. They did covers, they did deep cuts, they did big ones, so big songs, so like a little bit of everything, and it was
Yeah.
great. But this year it said Andrew McMahon dot dot dot, and I was like trying to click it, and I was like, why can't I click into it? Like I want to read the
Mhm,
description. There's no
mhm.
description. Why does it just say Andrew McMahon? I thought it was like a couldn't fit the whole thing on there sort of
Yeah,
thing.
no. No,
But
it's a like
apparently that was
dot
intentional.
dot dot stay tuned. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because
That's how I interpreted it.
I brought it up on the Discord, and I think somebody commented that. Yeah, it just means like dot dot dot, like you'll see.
Hmm.
Whereas I was looking for some kind of description.
I do know that there is one deep cut that we will be hearing that I don't think has ever been played live, and I think you and I can talk about this afterwards.
Ooh,
I do know that there is one very special thing in the works, but I'm not going to obviously
not gonna
spoil.
spoil it.
No, no.
We appreciate that because I am anti setlist spoiler. I don't know if you knew that about me, but
I did not. No.
yeah,
See, for me,
I don't look at set lists ahead of time. I refuse to, and I avoid Instagram stories leading into
oh my
shows.
goodness.
Yeah,
No,
it's tough
no.
sometimes. It's really tough.
Nothing could ruin it for me. Like I could know like the dialogue he speaks between songs, and I would still be sitting there like, yes, this is wonderful. Like I'll
Right.
listen to the same story over and over and over again, and still every time I'll laugh. Like that's not so much a thing for me, but yes, so I won't I will keep it hush.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not even gonna ask what it is because I don't want to know. I have a hope on what it is, but I don't know if you know that one that I really want to hear. But I'm just gonna leave it at that. So I'm curious, Kat. So you're going to Miami to
Mhm,
get on a cruise ship, like a
mhm.
lot of Andrew fans are. You come over the border to into Detroit. Probably it sounds like regularly. You come to the Detroit shows
Fair enough.
somewhat regularly.
Regularly enough. Yeah.
You see him in Toronto. I don't know that he tours a whole lot through Toronto, so is it like a big deal to like come over to Detroit or maybe somewhere else in the US? Is that a big deal for you to have to do? Is it like a big production?
I
Because I don't know.
mean,
I don't cross the border. I grew up a half hour from the border, but I don't cross
yeah.
the border very much.
Well, I mean, let's just say that in the last couple years, it's been more of a thing to take on.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I went to university or college,
Hmm.
like about, I don't know, an hour and a half outside of Detroit.
Okay.
It was actually faster for me to go see shows in Detroit than it was to drive home to Toronto.
Okay.
So in university, I would go to a lot of shows in Detroit. I think I saw like Panic at the Disco, The Academy is. I know I saw Andrew, brand new, thrice. Very familiar with sort of
I wonder
that
if we were at any
area.
of the same shows years ago when I lived in
Probably. Well, I
Michigan.
know that we were at the Same Something corporate show back in 2024. And I think I brought
Okay.
this up when we were in Detroit last time. I think you were like one person over from me.
Oh, that's right. You did mention
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we were on the barricade.
Yeah.
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 One of my very few
Um,
times ever on the barricade, and that it was there.
Yeah, I feel like I saw a picture after the show and I was like, oh, that guy was like one over from me. And I was like, oh, this is the guy who does the podcast. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, everything just started like clicking.
That is like the best concert photo I have of myself by far because it was a professional photographer took a shot of me like scream my head off on the barricade. So
So my husband is a fan, but not remotely a fan the way I'm a fan.
yeah,
So
I
that
can
was his
relate.
first time seeing something corporate. And I turned to him and I said, this might be one of the best shows of Andrew's or of, of any of his bands that I've seen ever. That Detroit show, that Something Corporate show was unlike any performance I'd seen Andrew give before. It was like the energy in that room.
Hmm.
And he kept talking about that night,
Yeah,
that he couldn't believe the energy in that room. And it was like a very special experience. And that was just like, that was such an amazing concert. And that one will top my list for, I think, a really long time. Like, I think it's
awesome.
going to be a hard one to beat. But yeah.
Yeah,
But,
that was
Andrew does
wild.
not come to Toronto a lot. It is more expensive for artists to tour here.
Hmm.
There are so many different requirements, and taxes here are higher. And my husband actually used to work in like concert marketing for a rather large and reputable venue in Toronto.
Okay.
And it is just very hard for artists to make a profit when they tour here. The last time Andrew had been in Toronto was right at, what year was that? 2023, 2022. It was when right after Tilt came out. It was the when he was
2023.
doing.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah,
the short run in May,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
because I went to
yeah,
the Grand Rapids show that month.
yeah. So that was the last time he'd been in Toronto before that. And Something Corporate didn't come to Toronto, so I had to go to Detroit.
Hmm.
And it's hard as a fan up here. I don't find or haven't met as many people who are as familiar with Andrew's music north of the border.
Hmm.
That's to say, like, his shows always sell really well. And I know that there are other people from the Toronto area in the community, but percentage wise, we are just so much smaller.
Yeah.
So sometimes it feels kind of lonely
Hmm.
to be, a Canadian fan. And it's like, I feel like it was harder to find people who would want to go to shows with me. And now, kind of the nice thing is that because of this online community, and this amazing community of Andrew fans, I've met some incredible people in the States who I kind of feel like I have a lot of options for places I can travel to see him when I need to or want to if Toronto doesn't make the cut.
Hmm.
I mean, I've seen him in a lot of different places now. I'm really excited to see him on the cruise and be like on a giant ship with just fans.
Yeah, that's what's so surreal about that is like you're all there's so many people who feel just like you do
Yeah.
about this artist and about music in general, even if you just generalize it like about like the fandom of passionate music fans in general
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just like the people that came to hang out at the bar. Like it's like you're
Yeah.
here for a reason.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that.
I can't wait. We're down to 67 days as of today.
I
I got
know.
notified on my countdown app.
Oh my gosh. It's crazy because I feel like I still have so much happening between now and the cruise. Just going back to cell phone for a minute, and it's the title of the song
Yeah.
and where its relevancy lies today.
Yeah, just the idea like cellular phone. Isn't that funny?
Right. And I'm just like, who says that anymore? And like I was thinking about it and I was like, nobody even says cell phone anymore. We say cell or DM me or text me or like it's sort of just the verbiage has changed very much.
Yep.
And another interesting thing, and this is like a total absolute nerd moment. Cell phone is two words on the track listing. Now, fun fact.
Hmm.
Associated Press style guide. So, how you write things for newspapers, magazines, news, all of
Hmm.
that stuff has a very specific style that's followed. And you get these guidebooks that tell you how certain things should be. This is the Canadian Press style guide that I have
Caps
here.
and spelling.
Caps and spelling, and it tells you words that are supposed to be capitalized or how certain words are supposed to be spelled in print. And so I was like, this has been bothering me because I'm like, I'm pretty sure cell phone is one word. So I was looking it up today, and cell phone, back when the song came out, was actually accepted as two words or as one word. But as
Hmm.
time has evolved, it is no longer accepted as two words. Now it's only cell phone one word because the way it's placed in our vernacular has changed so much. that the accepted written way to put it out there has changed because, back then it was like 2 words was okay because it was technically an abbreviation of cellular phone.
Right.
So it was 2 words, and now it's just become one word due to its sort of prevalence and relationship with us in our society today. So there's your nerd word minute.
No, I like it. I'm kind of wondering why he didn't call it cellular phone, since that's
Hmm.
what he sings in the lyrics so much,
Hmm.
on my cellular phone. And he called it the title, of course, is cell phone.
Hmm.
Like you said, I don't know that he ever says the word cell phone in the lyrics.
No, I don't think so. I think it's always cellular phone. But
Yeah,
doesn't it feel so weird to say cellular phone?
it does. And
Like
I
when
just,
I say
like,
it, I'm
nobody
just
says
like,
that.
no, I'm like, this, did we even say this like 20 years ago? Like, I'm
I
like, we
don't think
must have
so.
because it does not roll off the tongue. And I say it and I'm like, oh, that feels like an old person thing to say. Like I
That's it.
don't,
So
yeah.
the point you just made, so it doesn't roll off the tongue. I do wonder, and I've heard lyricists talk about this on podcasts and in interviews, in that sometimes you have to get creative with the word or the
Hmm.
phrasing because it
Hmm.
fits better with the melody that you're playing it
Absolutely.
with. I'm not going to try to sing it, but I assume the way that he sings cellular phone, cell phone would not have fit anywhere in there.
No, because he needs to have the right number of syllables to
Syllables. Yep.
fit the
And that's
metric.
exactly what I've
Yeah,
heard from lyricists. It's like,
yeah,
well, it has to have the syllables to
yeah,
get there, and
yeah.
I think
Cell
that's what it
phone,
was.
yeah. Ring me up on my cell phone doesn't work as ring me up on my cellular phone.
Yeah.
It has that flow that you don't get if you just call it your cell phone.
I have a quote from something that Andrew said in a 2006 interview, and this is going to, by the way, contradict and be completely opposite of what I said that he's mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Um, he says, I'm really not so sure about cell phone. And this was in 2006. So before he played it at Lollapalooza, before he re recorded it for In Valley / Class Passenger, he says, I'm really not so sure about cell phone. I really like it, but it doesn't mean as much to me as it did when I first wrote it. I want to put out my best songs and not just release lackluster material. And
Hmm.
so I feel like he's done a 180. So, because what I said earlier, he said, looking back, it's actually one of my favorites.
Hmm.
I think he's changed his mind on this song, by the way,
Hmm.
based
Yeah.
on what he felt. Because that, again, like you pointed out, that was a breakup song originally. And so
Yeah.
he's referring to the breakup song version
Yeah.
versus what it became.
And I think when you look at it as the breakup version and you compare it to all his other breakup songs, it doesn't stand up to the rest of them.
That's true.
Melodically, though, the song, like if you strip away the lyrics and you listen to the melody, it's a very beautiful song.
Hmm.
I feel like he obviously loved how it sounded. It was probably the lyrics I feel like he wasn't in love with, or I don't
Maybe,
think
yeah.
we would have gotten the In Valleys version. I
Right.
feel like he obviously, the melody spoke to him in a way that he felt it transcribed something he was feeling into, to sound, into music. And maybe he just hadn't placed the right feelings with that melody
Yeah.
and wasn't ready to give up on that melody and wanted to find the right words.
Yeah, because the melody didn't change from
No,
demo to studio.
no, not at
And
all.
but when you listen to the studio versions, I was speaking of the sound of it. When you listen to the studio version, to me it sounds like a Glass Passenger track in that way. But
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with the production. Like, it's just that sound of the era,
Yeah.
like not of the era in music as a whole, but the era of Andrew
Yeah,
specifically.
absolutely.
Like those songs kind of had the same sound, and I'm talking about the EP songs, even like At Full Speed and Dear Jack and There Katie and Diane the Skyscraper are just some examples I had written out here. They have these really, to me, memorable piano intros, melody
Yes.
intros,
Yes.
and this one fits right in with it. And I love that about this era of non Glass Passenger tracks.
Hmm.
I feel like they could have been their own like longer EP or own album. All those some of those tracks I just named and like more that I didn't
Yeah.
name, because they have like a similar sound, and the piano was so. It was they were definitely full band songs, but the
Yeah.
piano was just so important and central
Yeah.
to those songs.
I can hear the piano for the like for Diane,
Mm.
the skyscraper. It just it's such a beautiful do 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 like series of notes, and it's so lovely, and I feel like that's one of those songs too that it kind of like, I don't know, it deserves more.
Yeah,
He must have had a hell of a time trying to figure out what was going on Glass Passenger, because everybody, and I'm going to say something very controversial here. I prefer Glass Passenger to Everything in Transit.
that is controversial.
I know.
Hot
Don't
take.
get me wrong, that doesn't mean I don't like Everything in Transit.
Yeah.
I feel that there's something very raw about Glass Passenger. And I don't know if it's just that lyrically, melodically, poetically, I find it, I don't know, it resonates with me a little bit more. It feels deeper. It feels like we're getting a more sort of inside look at his mind and what
Hmm.
he was feeling and experiencing. And I think I feel like it makes me feel more connected to him and what he's been through.
Are there specific lyrics that jump out at you? And we'll probably talk mostly about the studio version, but are there specific lyrics that jump out at you that are, you mentioned one earlier, you mentioned the
There's a fighter somewhere underneath the skin and bones. Yeah,
yeah, there's a fighter somewhere underneath his skin and
that
bones.
is the
And that
one.
was very different than the old version, by the way, but
Yes.
again, yeah.
Basically that whole, what is it? The whole second verse, I'm not so patient when they stare.
You mentioned the I have become increasingly
When
overwhelmed
I'm
when
in
I'm in
public,
public,
yeah, I'm not so patient when they
when
stare.
they
There's a
stare.
fighter. That verse for me, I don't know. Again, I think it's just something that if anybody out there has, gone through, a period of depression or something like that, there's this, you kind of want to just like fall and slip into the background. You don't want to
Hmm.
stand out. I can really like understand that you're this person who's lived their life in the spotlight, and now you kind of want to just slip into the background a bit,
Hmm.
and how that could be, something really hard to come to terms with. And he talks about how he's a fighter and he'll get through it, he'll come out the other side, and that's really, to me, I think the strongest part of that song lyrically.
Hmm.
Talking about in a world full of vampires. You think about the type of industry he's in, like the music industry is very, I think for a lot of artists it could be very, you feel like you're selling your soul, or they're trying to suck the life out of you in a lot of ways
Hmm.
because they're trying to control your art or make decisions for you that you don't necessarily agree with. And in the context of this song, I do believe it more literally to be about constantly being poked with needles and having blood taken. But I think if you were to remove sort of the literal knowledge and knowing his story and were to listen to it, you could hear how, there's this like disdain for feeling like people are always coming to take things away from you, or to sort of suck the life out of something. And
Yeah, because in that chorus, he sings, "She's gonna ring me up on my cellular phone, so I know I'm not alone in a world full of vampires."
exactly.
So it's like going from that like wanting to be connected to somebody because of the vampires that are coming for him. So I definitely see what you're saying
Yeah.
there. That it could be like industry, what his profession is,
Yeah.
and feeling like
You need to talk to somebody real, somebody who's not a part of that like soul sucking kind of.
you got it.
This song for me, I don't know. I'm sure there are other people out there who has songs that when they hear them, even if you stripped away the lyrics for me from this song and you were to just play it, it speaks to me very like on a deeper level. And I don't know how to describe that feeling, but I know people out there, who are as passionate about Andrew and his music must feel this on some level too, where like you don't know why it makes you feel a certain way, but it
Hmm.
does,
Yep.
and you can say, the words, the music, everything, but it really is kind of this unexplainable feeling that I get when I hear this song, where it just touches something that I can't express. The lyrics are good, music is good. Something about it together, it hits me. And
Hmm.
again, I'm at a loss for words because I really don't know how to really describe how it makes me feel.
Well, there's a line that kind of hits me and always has. There's a line in the song, in the chorus actually, And interestingly, what I learned is that it didn't replace a line in the demo version, but it also wasn't in the demo version. And it's the line, "I'm a slave to the wires."
Mm-hmm.
And that is the line that's always stuck with me with this song. When I think of this song, that's what I think of. And it makes me wonder, is it the cell phone he's referring to? Or is it like feeling like he's connected to a machine in the
So
hospital?
machine is like my interpretation for sure. It's this idea
Mm-hmm.
that like I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck here because I'm hooked up to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because being a slave to the wires wouldn't really apply for a cell phone, right? It'd be more of like a
Not at that
landline.
time.
Yeah, more of like a landline thing, right? So
Yeah.
it's not in the original version, I think, because, I think you're right. I think it does have something more to do with I'm stuck here. I'm alone.
Yeah.
I've got these machines that are holding me down.
Now that's the line that's stuck with me from the moment I heard it and all the way through. But the line that has started to jump out at me more after researching for the song, listening to it several times in the past week, and preparing for this episode, and I think it's the way he sings it. It's part of the bridge. He sings, "But I've given everything and more, sometimes convinced I have the world to carry. Every day is war."
Mhm.
And that's the line. Every day is war. The way he sings that, it's like, oh, like it stings,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And I can understand why you'd feel that way or use that metaphor of going through a breakup and being hurt sense, or fighting for your life,
absolutely.
surviving cancer, so that it's a very different way to use that, but
But it's
I
applicable
could
for
see
both.
using it. Yeah, it's applicable using it either way.
Yeah.
But I love that line.
It is. It's true. And when you think about Andrew and you think about all the times he's talked about just sort of feeling like needing to please everybody or to feel you're fighting this like constant battle.
Do you have a favorite part of the song? Maybe something you have or have not mentioned already, but
I think I've covered it. I mean, like I said, it really is just for me, it's that, there's a fighter
mhm.
section, and that's got to be the one for me that really, like every time I hear it, it's like, it's like a punch in the chest. Like I feel what he's feeling when he sings that.
Is this a song you'd recommend to a new fan, or is
No,
this one you'd kind
no.
of save for the deeper listeners?
I would save this for the deeper listeners for sure. This would definitely not be a song I'd put on like an introductory, like, here are the top
Same.
Andrew songs that you should check out. This song, I think, is one that really comes with knowing his story.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
I like
because
that.
I think if you don't know his story, you hear this song and I don't know that you would take away from it much. You might be like, "Oh, it's a nice sounding song," but
Hmm.
you don't get the soul of the song. You don't get the heart of it, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think if I played this for one of my friends who's not an Andrew fan, this definitely would not be the way to bring them in.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I agree with that.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. Well, to kind of put a bow on this, Cat, I really want to say I appreciate you joining the show, and I'm so glad we finally got a chance to talk. And
Same. This was lovely. I loved this. Oh my gosh, to be able to talk about Andrew songs with somebody who wants to talk about Andrew songs, my God, my husband would just like get up and walk out of the room.
yeah, my wife tolerates it sometimes. Like she's like, yeah, I don't know that, but this is a good outlet for me to be able to talk with other fans about so
Absolutely.
passionately,
Absolutely.
dig deep into these songs. So where's the best place to find your artwork online? Like if I wanted to go look at what you're up to, where would I find that?
You know what? The best place to track me and what I'm up to is probably Instagram,
Okay.
where
And there's a link on there. There's a link or a set of links on there. Is that
yeah,
right?
so I have a link tree set up. So if you go to my Instagram, which is Kat McIntyre Art,
Mm-hmm.
I do have a link tree that'll take you to my Redbubble page, my Bonfire page. I probably need to update it because I think I probably still have some Raise Your Voice stuff that I haven't taken down yet. Yeah, that's usually where I'll post any new designs and stuff like that, and also the Andrew McMahon Fan Art Collective on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
That is another place where I will post new kind of designs and stuff like that. I've taken a bit of a hiatus, obviously, for the end of the year here because there's just been so much going on, and having had
Oh yeah.
surgery last month, and just kind of trying to play catch up and Christmas and holiday. Like, it's so Haven't really done anything in a while, but I do have some downtime in the coming weeks that I probably will find myself sitting with my tablet and drawing. So maybe there will be some fun, exciting things in the near future.
It's great that you mentioned that. It's a great segue because I was going to ask, is there any particular project you're excited about right now? Something you're either that's in your brain or that you've started on that you're thinking that you're excited about?
I've been getting a lot of requests for more Constantine type material graphics.
Not surprising.
I love Constantine. It's a great song. I find it hard sometimes to come up with something unless I feel sort of personally drawn into it.
That's fair.
So, I mean, I'm toying with some ideas. I'm playing with some thoughts.
Hmm.
But I will say I have two designs that I put out this year that I'm really, really happy and really proud of and kind of want to plug. I have my lyrics for Cecilia and the Satellite that I kind of did a line drawing, and it's an outline of a woman and she's holding a baby,
Hmm.
and it says, "For all the things my hands have held, the best by far is you." As a parent, that lyrics, speaks a lot to me, and there was just something about such a simple design that it's one of my favorites. And the other design that I put out that I really love is the Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness logo, but with like the sort of like the moon and the forest kind of design imprinted into it.
Okay.
Those are my two, and I think I'm gonna try to do like to riff off of the forest theme a little bit this year and see where I can take that because I love drawing trees and nature, and so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I hope you get some time for yourself aside from work and being a family woman
Yeah.
and all that other stuff that takes up time, and
Mhm.
you can just settle down and for just a little bit and focus on your art. So
Yeah,
I know
and
it's hard to do in these times
yeah, and
sometimes.
you too. I hope you have a lovely holiday season with your family, and that you get some downtime, because between working and family and doing this podcast, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's a passion project
yeah,
like yours. Like it's just you put a lot of time into the things that you love,
yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
you find the time.
But you know what? And it's great that you do, because we all get to benefit from that.
Yeah,
So
I appreciate you
thank
saying
you
that.
for your services to the community.
I could say the same, Kat. Well, I'll end with a quote from the song. Where I am gone, just know I'm waiting for you to ring, for you to ring me up on my cellular phone, so I know I'm not alone.
No, none of us are alone. Not in this community, at least.
That's an excellent point. I love that. Good ending.